Yo, what's good, you guys? Rasati out here in Singapore. You back on here with the Night Owl podcast, and I'm so excited because I'm always excited. What am I saying? I'm always excited. I'm actually really happy that I do this podcast at all. It's been a source of catharsis for myself. It's been a source of hope to many, and it's been a source of entertainment to some. So I'm actually really glad that I do this. I really do enjoy it. It's not a big deal to me. It's become kind of part and parcel of my day almost, and it just basically depends on where I get my inspiration from, what hits me when, and I try to go ahead and let the universe flow through me as I talk on these podcasts because I think it's important the message that I'm trying to get out there. So tonight, I actually want to talk about something that I was listening in on during a session uh, last night, I believe. So, young lady had come to speak about something that was weighing heavily on her heart, and she had just recently been through a breakup. And as you all know, anytime something changes in your life, there's a fair amount of grief that you kind of have to process in order to like step into that new space, especially in relationships. If you lose somebody, if somebody walks away from you, somebody passes on, any of those things, it's almost like you suddenly feel all the spaces that they took up in your life, even more so because they're suddenly not there. It's suddenly empty space, right? So it's very, very difficult. Grieving happens at every twist and turn whenever there's a change. And unfortunately, she was kind of having a rough time of it. I was very proud of her. She maintained her composure and she told us a story. And I couldn't be more pleased that she was able to bring herself to a space like that and speak up for herself and tell her story and allow people to just listen and nod in agreement and kind of just quietly support her. So I really, really appreciate that. Um, but something she said reminded me of several other conversations I've had this week where people are looking for support, looking for acceptance, and they don't always find it in the places they expect to. And I want to talk about that tonight because I think it's really important that people have this open mind, this willingness to learn, and that's how we show support for each other. Um, let's take my family, for example, right? For a very long time, I was under the impression, I had convinced myself that my husband was somebody who cared very deeply for me, was able to support me regardless. Like, I mean, I supported him, right? I was happy to support him in all of his endeavors. Anytime he said, I have a dream, the minute he started off with, I have a dream, I was like, ooh, okay, what is it? How can I help? I'm gonna throw my entire weight behind your dream and make sure that, we get it done. So first it was he wanted to open a gym, and I was like, all right, cool. Well, whenever we were riding around Newport News or whatever, yep, we lived in the big bad news. Anytime we were riding around in Newport News, we would look for properties that looked like they were kind of run down, maybe, or in a tougher part of the neighborhood, because we're looking at it from a standpoint of property prices would probably not be as bad if they were in like a little bit more of a rundown neighborhood. So he told me about he had this idea for this, this kind of beat up gym idea. It needed to look like kind of like a warehouse. It needed to be bare bones. Um, he wanted it to kind of like resemble a prison yard almost, like no vanity, no pretty colors, no rubber mats on the like just hardcore gym, right? And his dream was beautiful. He wanted tattoo artists in there. He wanted suppliers for proteins and other supplements and stuff in there. He wanted like tradition, like a not even traditional. I can't even say that. Like a very unconventional, hardcore, like one corner of the hood kind of feel to it. And I thought, hey, you know what? If that's what you want, let's go look for a space. So anytime we were out, I would like point out properties that I thought were interesting and stuff. So it was foremost in my mind when I was trying to support him, and it just seemed like I threw my weight behind him in everything that he wanted. First, it was the gym, and then it didn't really come to pass. And then it was like, oh, I need my license to be able to coach people to lift weights and stuff. I mean, you don't really need a license, but it wouldn't hurt, right? So one Christmas, I made sure that he got entrance into an online course that he could take on his own time, that he didn't have to travel for anything, and he could get the certification. That way he has it done. He could do whatever he wanted next. Like, I'm one of those people that you tell me what your dreams are, I'm going to be like, all right, well, what steps do we need to get there? And I'm going to do all I can to make sure it's like a layup for you. I'm going to give you everything you need. All you got to do is dunk it after that. You know what I mean? And that was me. That's how I love. I love hard. I'm not going to apologize for it. It's not going to change anytime soon. My love is not frail like that. Okay? So I'm going to do what I have to do because I believe in you, and I'm going to believe in you with all of who I am. But when it comes to being vice versa, it was almost like he wasn't willing to learn what I wanted, and he wasn't willing to adapt to who I was. He needed me to be a specific way. And when I wasn't that specific way, it's almost like he didn't know how to handle it, but he wasn't willing to learn or cooperate or to reach a compromise of any sort. Now, y'all know me. I'm pretty independent. I'm pretty bullheaded and quite self-sufficient. So I don't generally ask for help. But part of that is also because it's twofold. I don't like asking for help in case you say no, but I also don't like asking for help because I feel indebted to people. I don't want to owe you anything, and I'm also afraid that you're going to say no and not be able to help me. And then if I continually have to ask for help and somebody continually says no, I'm stuck at the mercy of somebody else. So for the most part, I usually ask how I can learn the skill that I need so I don't have to ask anybody, right? But in the case of being pregnant, it means that I'm a little more tired. I need to rest more. I need to eat well. I need to be less stressed. So in those situations where it's, I mean, it's exigent circumstance, right? It's not your usual everyday run of the mill something, and I'm not asking you every day to do something. I'm asking you to help me be healthy and bear this child for 10 months until I can give birth to her, and then, we can share the responsibilities. But because he was not in the frame of mind to learn how to help me, he kind of just backed off and disappeared instead. We lived in the same house. We slept in the same room, but it was like we could have been on opposite ends of the universe for the chasm that lived between us. But it was very difficult and very painful. And while I was miserable um, during that time, it hurt more when he physically just was not there afterwards. So once we broke up, I felt it more and it hurt. So even while he was there and he was unwilling to kind of help out a little bit, and I was miserable during that, when we broke up, it felt worse for some reason. And that's something that I noticed when this young lady was speaking. She couldn't fathom why someone would not want to learn how to best help you, how to accommodate you. And it's not to say that you have to change your entire being, but let's say I was fine when you married me and I met with a car accident and suddenly I need to be in a wheelchair. Would you begrudgingly adjust so that you could help me out, or would you be happy to extend your love and your support and your assistance because we are together, because you're a part of my life, because we're important to each other, we're priorities in each other's lives? So it's that kind of concept that I wanted to talk about tonight, because I feel like there are so many people that want to be supported but aren't ready to support the other way around. I feel like there are a lot of people that are very conditional with their love because they want something a specific way, and if it doesn't show up that same way every time, they don't know how to respond. Now, the flip side of that, I mean, to play devil's advocate, I could very happily say, hey, you dodged a bullet. Lucky you didn't marry this guy and you end up having to deal with this the rest of your life or whatever. I mean, obviously people divorce without blinking an eye anymore, but the point being that at least you don't have to be in that situation anymore. At least you don't have to deal with this on a daily basis because this is the way they would behave. But on the same token, it hurts for them to come out of their mouth and say, I don't know how to support you. And to be frank, I'm not willing to learn, so we should probably part ways. That part stings. That part really makes me feel sad because it means that there is not enough information out there about mental health, mental wellness. There's not enough information about who or what kinds of people go through bouts of anxiety and depression. And to be honest, there isn't a type. Everybody goes through it at some point or another. Some people are better able to handle it, some people are not, depending on what they've been taught, what belief systems they have going on in their head, what kind of support system they have around them. It can be very, very big. So when I hear people talk about their significant others in a manner that shows me that they could care less what they're going through, it really hurts my feelings. Now, there was a young lady who called me a couple weeks ago just to kind of have like a quick, let's get to know each other. Would this be a good fit for coaching kind of situation? And I was excited. I was happy to speak to her, and I felt grateful that she felt brave enough to reach out to me. And the way she spoke, and I'm telling you, I'm not judging her, but the way she spoke told me how she felt about the current situation. The way she spoke told me that she was at her wit's end, that she was no longer okay with hearing an ex's name. She was no longer okay with having to deal with a blended family. But the sad truth was they had only recently gotten married, but they'd been dating for 4 years before that. And I understand it's tough blending a family together, finding a new normal, pulling together several different cultures. Because, like, I mean, as it is, you marry one person, right? You marry their family, which means your family's culture and their family's culture have to become some kind of a hybrid in your house. But imagine having kids from a former spouse. That means it's three families that need to come together all of a sudden. And it's tough enough as it is with two. Can you imagine three? And then children on top of that. Children who are confused and upset and in their own way trying to keep their family together because they can't take any more change. They don't understand it. They don't like the change. And here you are trying to manage the best you can, but it's also difficult for you. So I was grateful that she opened up and she talked to me, but I also felt sad that there is a real lack of understanding what it takes to put things together, what it takes to build from nothing. When you have a blended family, you're basically building from nothing. You have to take what pieces work from the previous marriage and what pieces work within your relationship and try and put everything together. You're building from nothing, you're building from scratch. That means compromise on all fronts. It can't just be the wife who married into the husband's family. I know that's a very, very old stigma, which is why all the Nadigams on Basantam, on Sun TV, on Vijay TV talk about how the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law always have like this "I'm going to kill you" kind of mentality, right? But the point being that if you aren't ready to compromise, if you aren't ready to show that you love someone enough to kind of listen to what they're asking and find a common ground where both of you can win, it becomes a very, very difficult state of being. The tension is tremendous. The stress you would feel on a daily basis, inescapable. And the weight of the cross you bear gets heavier and heavier moment by moment. It's not a simple thing to just kind of talk off. It's not one of those things where you're like, oh, that's just the way it is. You'll get over it. It's not like that at all. You really need some conflict resolution skills. You really need some top-notch communication skills. Because if you can't talk about what you need and then discuss without getting upset where you can let go of what you want versus what you need, and where you can give in for the other person to feel like they win as well, it's the reason relationships fail all around us. I get worried. I worry that I'm not going to be able to reach enough people, that I won't be able to teach enough people, because I know what it takes to build a family. I've done it so many times now. I know what it takes to mend fences and make friends and maintain relationships over many, many years. It's important. And I'm not the pro by any means, but I've done it so many times in so many different situations. I have some wisdom to give. And I want to. I want to share that because I don't want to hear about broken homes no more. I don't want to hear about kids traumatized by the expectations of their parents. I don't want to hear about, parents who weren't able to manage their own situations where they leaned on their kids and their kids had to parent for themselves. It's difficult out there. I know some of us can manage and find a way through it regardless, and some of us really do drown in all of that. It's a lot of emotion because we're all taught to sweep it under the rug and pretend like it doesn't exist. We cope by pretending we don't have emotions. Trust me, I did it for a long time until they kind of it's like pressure in a can, right? It kind of internally combusted and I fell apart. I had a mental breakdown. A breakdown that didn't land me in a hospital, but it did have me blowing up at everyone and anything that moved near me. I basically started World War within my own home because I was so upset and so angry and just felt like I had not been paid attention to. I was not being listened to. I was not being appreciated at all. And so I set fire to where I was. Not literally. I kind of just jumped down everybody's throat. The willingness to learn. That humble, I don't know it all. I have room to grow. There's something that I probably haven't considered that you might be able to help me with. That teachability is really, really important in life. It's really important in every relationship. You know how I feel about relationships. I'm not talking about just romantic ones. I'm talking about work relationships, friendships, parent-child relationships, whether you are dealing with your parents or your children, your cousins, your friends, old schoolmates, anyone that you speak to more than once or twice, that's a relationship. And I truly believe that if you approach life with this teachable mentality, which means you don't know it all, there is room for you to include more information so that you can make a better decision. If you can adopt that mentality, then anything is really possible. Then there's a lot of room for hope. Because if you come into it closed-minded, thinking that you know how everything should be, this is the way it should be, the only way that it can be, this is how your world was created, so it has to be like this, regardless of who you allow to enter into your world, you're going to be in for the fight of your life, because everybody feels that way too. And when you come in with a teachable mentality, it allows people to realize that, hey, you know what? Maybe there is another way. You lead by example. You give people permission to not be on the defensive, but be ready to receive new information and process accordingly. I want you guys to rally together to really support each other. And it's not a women's liberation thing at all. I want all the men out there to feel like they have someone they can go to. I want all the men out there to realize that there is no such thing as normal. We're all kind of like winging it. And that we will be okay. That everyone has their own way of doing things, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. And we're not here to judge each other. We're here to understand better so we can maybe build something new together. People talking about, awakened souls and indigo children and star seeds and a lot of spiritual stuff that's coming up at the moment. People out here projecting into the world so that they can actually improve the collective, move the collective to change. That doesn't happen by accident. It's out of necessity right now. We are so separated from each other. We need that connection. It's why so many of us feel isolated. It's why so many of us are going through a lot of mental health challenges at the moment. And the more I talk about these things, the more I shed light on the situation, the more I share what I've lived through, the more I feel like you have permission to rest a little bit. You can relax your shoulders a little bit. You can breathe a little more deeply, knowing that you're not alone. Other people go through this too. And there is a way to manage it if you're willing to learn a couple of new skills. So I don't know where on your journey you are. I don't know what you're dealing with tonight. I don't know if you needed this tonight. Whenever this finds you, understand that you are not alone. There is a way to get through everything that you're dealing with. But it starts with you. It starts on how you see your situation. It starts with what are you willing to learn so that you can maybe adjust how you react going forward. How can you invite more people that think like you towards you so you can collectively elevate and bring more quality to all your relationships? You won't be perfect. You won't win every time. You will fall back into old patterns. I do still. But if I could teach you to keep getting back up, if I could teach you to, with time, stop letting things upset you to the point that you can't function anymore, if I could teach you to believe in yourself and your ability to affect change around you, wouldn't that be worth it? I love you guys. And I want you guys to thrive, not just exist in this world, really live. Go out and happen to the world. Make your mark. Let people remember you. No more wallflower. No more just slinking in between the crowds, just going through the motions. Live. Enjoy every moment. That's what I want for you guys. So if I can help in any way, please message me. Let me know. If you have questions about things you want me to talk about, please message me. Let me know. That's what I'm here for. It's what I love to do. And nothing makes me happier than to see people who were once on the brink of tears hold their head up high, smile, and walk proudly out of a room because they feel like they were able to put down some of their burdens. That's what matters to me. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe, share. I appreciate you all. Thank you.